Hello, and this is Mr. Word. I'm going to do a short video on how to use the spreadsheet to get the mean absolute deviation, as I've asked you to do. I know it was like drinking from the fire hose a little bit, and it was brand new concepts in class today, so here we go. So if you recall, I posted a worksheet for you. It has the immortal title, Error, the requested thing could not be found. However, it does open up. Don't believe that lie. It'll open up to this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it simply. I'm going to do it with a couple of these, the top ones. Your job is to do this with these two down here. Okay? So what we're going to want is we want the data, 10, 7, 13, 10, and 8. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to say 10 and enter. I'm going to go back and grab it. It says 7, 13, 10, 8. So 7, 13, I need to fix that 7, and then I think it was 10, and then 8. I think there's 5 pieces of data. So let's see, 10, 7, 13, 10, 8. Yes, great. Now, what I need is the mean. So the mean of all of those pieces of data. So I'm going to say equals. It can give you the average of them, but I'm going to say sum to remind ourselves what we're actually doing. Sum of those numbers here. And then when it gives me that, I can actually switch from typing in here to moving my cursor up here and click. Oops, it did not like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put in the range, A2 to A6. Okay, so now I have selected the range from A2 to A6. I'm now going to put a forward slash, which is right under the question mark, and I want count. And then I'm going to say again, A2 colon A6. Okay, I've done that, but I have a problem. If I copied that here, I'm going to get different means because if you notice, it's changing from A6 to from A2 to A6 to A3 to A7, A4 to A8, A5 to A9, A6 to A10. I want to make that an absolute thing. So I'm going to say Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. I'm going to go right here, and I can edit this formula right up here in this little window. So instead of A2, I want to do $A, $2, $A, $6, $A, $2, $A, $6. Pro tip, since I'm not going to be shifting it all on the column, I could dispense with the $sign in front of the letter A. But for simplicity's sake, I'm putting the $sign in front of each. I hit enter. I click here. I move my cursor to this little blue square. I double click and it autofills. Now I'm going to get the deviation. Deviations. Deviations are going to be simply equals this cell. I can actually just move my arrow keys over to it and then hit minus and move my arrow key to the one that I want to subtract. Or I can just simply type equals A2 minus B2. And then it's going to actually suggest an autofill. And I'm going to accept the autofill suggestion if I can get it to go to where I can see it. One of the problems here is that, well, I'm just going to do it this way. I have a little thing at the bottom of my screen that gets in the way of me seeing when I'm making the video. So I'm just going to go back to 0.4. If it gives you autofill, you could accept that. I'm going to double click on the little square and I get all these. And if I were to add all those up, just so you can see what happens, equals sum, and it's going to be these numbers. I can just select them in parentheses, and something has gone wrong. Let me see what's gone wrong. This should equal 0. Pause to consider. Okay, I've worked out the problem. The problem is that I had written the wrong letters. All right, I was interrupted by a phone call, of course, as I was trying to make this video, because that's what happens. And now we will get the correct formula for the sum here. It's going to be equals, okay, click in here, equals sum, and I want the sum of all of these cells from C2 to C6 in parentheses, and it's 0. Because if I add all of the deviations, they are on opposite sides of the mean in various ways, and they will together cancel out. They represent all the numbers on average being 0 away from the mean. But we want the absolute deviation. So we're going to say absolute deviations, and the absolute deviations is going to be the absolute value of that subtraction. Now I've already got the value for the subtraction, so I could say, I just could say equals ABS, ABS in parentheses, and then it automatically is grabbing B2. I don't want B2, I want C2, and parentheses, and I say that. And now it's offering me an autofill, so I'm going to try to accept the autofill. It did not think I was clicking accept, so I'm just going to do what I did before, and I'll refill that. And this, okay, now what I'm going to have is I'm going to get these are all the absolute deviations, and now I need the MAD, mean absolute deviation, which is the mean of the absolute deviations. And I just need to do one formula for this. I'm not going to be copying it, so I don't need to use those dollar signs to make it absolute. So equals sum, parentheses, and I'm going to choose D2 to D6 in parentheses, / count, parentheses, D2 colon D6 in parentheses, and I have my mean absolute deviation. The data here is on average 1.68 away from the mean. So that is a measurement of variability. Later on, we will learn about another more complex measure of the variability of the data, but we don't need to worry about that right now. I hope that was helpful. Just to recap, put your data in a column, and then get the mean. The mean formula, you will, if you're going to be copying it, so you are going to need to put the dollar signs in. It's sum of the range of data locked down divided by count of the range of data locked down. The deviations are simply subtracting the data minus the mean. The absolute deviations are the absolute value of what you got for the deviation. So equals abs, and then the cell involved. And then the mean absolute deviation is the sum of the absolute deviations divided by the count of the absolute deviations. Now I am going to do one more thing for you, which is I'm going to, and unfortunately I can't do the plus thing at the bottom of my screen because my little tools are blocking my view of that. And I don't think I can, maybe I can move it. I think I can move it. Hang on. Ooh, I can move it. So let's just do that. So I'm going to hit plus, and I'll have a new sheet. I'm going to name this sheet problem 2. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the data from problem 2. So I'll stop data, and I'm going to have deviation, absolute deviation, and then MAD. Okay, so let's first get the data. And the data comes from this worksheet. And the data is 110, 114, 104, 108, 106. So 110, 114, 110, 114, 106, 110, 108, I think is the data. I might not have it in order, but let's see if I got it. 108, 106, oh, that's 104, not 110. So it's 110, 114, 104, 104, 106, and then 108. Great. Okay, now I'm going to get the, oh, I forgot. I've got to actually get the mean of this. Sorry about that. Oopsie doodles. So mean. Okay, so I'm going to get the mean. I'm going to say equals sum, and then in parentheses, dollar sign, A2, and so A. Actually, no, I'm going to show you that you don't actually need the dollar sign for column letter, but we do need it for the number. Okay, let me start over. So A2, so I'm going to click up here so I can edit. A dollar sign 2, because it's really the number I'm locking down because I'm sticking with the same column. If I moved over a column to the right, it would shift the column. So in that case, I would need that a $6 and in parentheses, and then / count a $2 colon a $6. And that locks down just the rows, not the columns, but I'm not worrying about locking down the columns. And there I have that. I can double click on this little blue dot and it autofills. Now we get the subtraction equals this minus this. If I click on it, it autofills that. And now we'll autofill that. And we get all those. And if I added those up, I'd get 0, but we are not worrying about that. I'm going to get equals absolute value of what's in this cell of the deviation. Hang on, it did something weird. So error, we start over, equals ABS parentheses, this cell in parentheses, and now we'll click on the drop down. We get that, and now we get the mean of the absolute deviations, which is equals sum, and I'm not worrying about the absolute thing, so sum of D2 to D6. So D2 colon D6 in parentheses / count D2 colon D6. And that will get me the mean, and I'm not worrying about any kind of copying of it. So that is the mean of the absolute deviations, or MAD. So our variability of this set of data is a bit more than our variability of this set of data, which was 1.68. And I will rename this as well, problem 1. Okay, and then I'll use this to move over and rename this ducks. Okay, and there you have it. I hope that was helpful to you.